What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the HighKey Crypto Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Luke Lintz, and we're going to be talking about what is Web 3.0 today. This is going to be a fun topic for me because me and my brothers and the entire HighKey team is big on Web 3.0 right now. And the goal of this podcast is by the end of it, you completely understand the concept of Web 3.0. The transitional period that we are in between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0, why Web 3.0 is so important, and potential places for every single one of these listeners to make an absolute ton of money along the way. I'm pretty excited to talk about this topic and see if anyone has any questions or comments. So let's get right into it. All right, what is Web 3.0? So there's actually no concrete definition when you search on Google, what is Web 3.0? But what we can do is go back and check what Web 1.0 is, what Web 2.0 currently is, and extrapolate a rough definition of what Web 3.0 is going to look like. So firstly, Web 1.0 was the beginning place of the internet. This was pretty much when the internet was a read-only place for consumers. During the time period of 1991 to 2004, it was basically one big dictionary of pages that were linked together. Users were able to go onto their computers and browse various articles about different topics and information, but only very few people actually created the content that was going up on the internet. And for the most part, people were solely consumers of information. Now, the switch to Web 2.0 is basically from 2004 all the way up until this point and still going forward. This came with a ton of changes from the beginning of the internet. Pages across the internet became interactive, and instead of people just consuming content, people began creating their content in the forms of building websites, creating blogs, posting on social media, and so much more. A huge aspect is we saw centralized companies absolutely take over Web 2.0 with companies like Google for the main search engine, Amazon for the largest web-based marketplace, Facebook for the largest social media network, and so many other massive companies. Web 2.0 has allowed all these massive companies, and the reason that they're able to monopolize the industry and become so big is because they hoard all the data to make these platforms more addictive and sell all the data and information to advertisers to do targeted ads and all around make these centralized companies an absolute ton of money. Now, this is the key point of change to the Web 3.0 world. The switch to Web 3.0 will potentially make every user a partial owner of their content and data instead of being the product of it. So the belief is that Web 3.0 is the next era of the internet where everything is built on decentralization instead of centralization. If we look at Web 3.0 within the social media realm of the internet, there'll be some key differences when decentralization across all social media occurs. So this podcast is mainly going to go into the aspect of what decentralization and Web 3.0 looks like specifically in the social media realm. We could go into all the other industries, but I'm going to keep it mainly at the social media side of things because that's what HighKey is heavily involved in. We've always been in social media ever since 2016, and it's just the easiest for most listeners and current Web 2.0 users to understand. So with social media, there'll be some key differences when decentralization across all social media occurs. Some of the key components that we will see is number one, all data will be open source, meaning all the code that any decentralized social media platform uses will theoretically be open for any developer to see, offer changes to, and potentially replicate for their own platform. This will allow for lots of innovation and potentially a lot of developers growing together and building some absolutely amazing stuff. So number two is there'll be no censorship of content. This can be a good and a bad thing for people to see, but basically when a post is uploaded to a decentralized network compared to a centralized platform like Instagram, it's almost impossible for it to be removed because the post is theoretically uploaded amongst all computers/servers a part of the blockchain compared to one centralized server of Facebook. This is a bit complex, but we'll get more into it later. And finally, the number 3 point is you have the potential to own a piece of the decentralized platforms that you're using in the decentralized social media world and your data. So to give you an example of this number 3 point, there's a layer 1 blockchain called DeSo, standing for decentralized social media. And by layer 1 blockchain, I mean a blockchain that has its own code fully created and is unique in the sense that it was made to scale specifically for the social media industry, with having the potential to support millions of people using the platform in the capacity that we use Instagram, Twitter, and all centralized social media apps today. And this is a major component when we look at the decentralized social media world, is because there are literally millions of posts going up a day across all the centralized social media networks that we use today. So when everything is stored on a blockchain, therefore, when everything is stored across all the computers that are helping support that blockchain, it needs to have the capacity to store it with having unbelievable amounts of fees. So we're going to get into this concept later. But right now, what you need to know is DeSo being a layer 1 blockchain, and we're going to get all into DeSo right now. So I'd like to showcase how a Web 3.0 blockchain like DeSo is all 3 parts that I said. So number 1, open source. Number 2, has no censorship. And number 3, gives you the potential to own your data and content and own a piece of the platform. So for number 1, DeSo is 100% open source. So anyone can look at all the code that went into creating DeSo, and developers can easily build off of the code and create social media applications, like one of the main social media applications that's currently built on DeSo called Diamond. You can search up Diamond. You can go at diamondapp.com. You can also search up more info about the DeSo blockchain and everything about it and all the other applications that are built on it on deso.org. And so you can literally go on to deso.org and find all the information that you need if you're a developer in the Web 2.0 world, or if you're a developer in the Web 3.0 world. One of the main things that DeSo is allowed for is it's allowed anybody with JavaScript and API knowledge to be able to build out applications on the platform compared to other Web 3.0 blockchains like general purpose blockchains like Ethereum and stuff. But we're getting into some complex topics now, so I want to stray away from that for the moment being. But for number 2, the DeSo blockchain has no censorship. The only censorship on the blockchain is when applications are built on top of the blockchain like Diamond, and those specific applications, the founders of those applications, are able to code into the platform what type of posts get ranked at the top of the feed for everyone to see. So in the sense that the blockchain itself isn't censored at all, but the applications and any layer 2 solutions built on top of the blockchain have potential to have some censorship. So what this means is you could make a post onto Diamond, the app. Say you're posting like nudity on the app, and it's not coded in the platform for it to rank nudity. So it'll stay on the blockchain forever because you posted it. It just won't rank anywhere on the Diamond app for everyone to see. So that's something to consider in terms of the DeSo blockchain itself having absolutely no censorship, and all posts that go up get stored onto the DeSo blockchain for data to be everywhere. And so for the 3rd point, you can theoretically own your content and own a piece of the platform with DeSo. First off, there's the DeSo coin, which is listed on Coinbase as well as blockchain.com for trading. And I'll get more in detail into that shortly because we're actually going to be going over the website to give you more detail. And when you sign up for an account on any application built on top of DeSo, there's like 100 applications built on top of it right now. None of them have like any major steam going on or any major hype, but I think we're going to get around to that point very shortly when DeSo becomes mainstream. And that's really where we have to go. It's like with any centralized social media application, like 99.9% of projects fail in the social media world. And then we see platforms like TikTok, for example, absolutely pop off. And so if a platform like that is built on the DeSo blockchain and Web 3.0, in the Web 3.0 world, very strategically, there's some massive potential there. So when you sign up for an account or any application built on top of DeSo, you're given the opportunity to purchase DeSo coins and utilize them. You can also purchase DeSo coins outside of any application on one of the exchanges that I said, blockchain.com and Coinbase, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of listed in the future. But one way of utilizing the DeSo coins is that every single profile created on DeSo has creator coins attached to their profile. This is where things get really, really interesting. So creator coins allow any user to either invest their DeSo coins in their own profile, in their own creator coin, or in other people's profiles on DeSo or other people's creator coins in a sense. So this is practically the stock market for brands and social media profiles. Creator coin values go up by more people investing in them, and they go down by people removing their locked DeSo from that particular creator coin. With these creator coins, people are able to speculate on the value of certain creators in the future. People are able to invest in the long term for creators to believe in. People are able to set up, like the creators themselves are able to set up unique structures to give returns to all their creator coin holders, which is absolutely massive. Like, this is the first time where we see really a financial concept merged with social media, where social media has inherently just always been like creating posts and interacting with posts, but now there's a money aspect to it as well, integrated with social media. So this is a huge concept, and this is one that we really love. And we've been in the social media world since 2016 with all of our companies, which has led to us creating HighKey Enterprises, which is a full branding agency. And so we see where this is going, and adding a financial component to social media allows for so many different types of people to get involved into the platform. So if you've listened to this podcast up until this point, it would mean that you're probably pretty interested in DeSo. And I'd have to give an announcement that none of this podcast is financial advice. I'm not getting paid by DeSo for talking about any of this. And I do have a large portion of my money and our company's money in DeSo. And so I think the best thing that we could do is give you a full understanding of what DeSo is by going over the cheat sheet on the deso.org website. So any person can pull up DeSo, DESO.org on their computer or like mobile device, and go onto the blogs section, and there's a blog called the cheat sheet. This is huge if you want to get a full overview of what DeSo is. And I'm basically going to go into it on this podcast right now. I'm just going to read through it because it's very well written. I'm going to talk about some things that I think aren't clearly laid out in the cheat sheet, some things that I would change about it. And then I'm also going to lay out some things that I absolutely love about it, and some things that are being talked about amongst the community and getting people like really excited that are currently within DeSo. So the cheat sheet starts by saying DeSo is the only blockchain that can actually support decentralized social media applications at scale. However, in spite of this incredible advantage, many in the wider Web 3.0 community remain unaware of what makes DeSo so impressive. Huge statement. That's a pretty massive claim that a blockchain that hasn't reached mass adoption is the only blockchain that can support decentralized social media applications at scale. But we're going to go down on this cheat sheet to question and answer to give everyone a wider context. So let's go with question number one. What is DeSo? So DeSo says DeSo is the first layer 1 blockchain custom built to scale decentralized social media applications to billions of users. Very bold claim. because if you've done any research on decentralized social media applications with like how it would scale with general purpose blockchains like Ethereum, it doesn't have the best scaling and would be very not cost effective. So question number 2 on this cheat sheet. So is DeSo built on another blockchain? And this is what I was talking about earlier. No, DeSo is its own separate layer 1 blockchain. It is not built on the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, or any other blockchain. And that's what I was talking about earlier of it being a layer 1 blockchain. So question number 3, why can't you just build decentralized social media apps on other extremely established blockchains like Ethereum? So unfortunately, Ethereum is a general purpose blockchain, what I was talking about earlier, and cannot scale decentralized social media applications because they weren't built to support the unique storage/indexing requirements that social media apps require. And this is kind of like common knowledge. You don't really need to have like a lot of coding or like be a developer. I'm not a developer. I don't know like any code, but I can understand this, that a general purpose blockchain or like social media, for example, like requires an absolutely massive amount of storage if all that data is being stored on a blockchain, because theoretically at scale, millions of people are posting on it a day, and so it has to be able to keep up with that at like relatively extremely low fees. The average user won't even want to like pay like a cent to make a post, and so it has to be like very nominal. So unlike financial apps, social media apps are a type of infinite state application which require much more storage. Due to the storage constraints, it would cost as much as $1 plus just to send a like or follow someone on blockchains like Ethereum. Wow, that's a yikes for me. That's literally not even possible, and there's no way it would hit mass adoption if people had to spend $1 in order to send a like or a comment. And that's exactly why that decentralized social media applications will never be built on general purpose blockchains, and there has to be a specific blockchain built for decentralized social media applications, which we believe in is DeSo. Again, not financial advice. It's just like what we believe in, and it's the first that we've heard of anything like this. We've seen many layer 2 solutions built on top of blockchains like Ethereum, but it doesn't fix the foundational storage issue. So for anyone who doesn't know, layer 2 solutions are basically a way for blockchains to increase the amount of work they can accomplish by offloading some of the work to something else. So like layer 2 solutions are basically a way of fixing certain problems on a layer 1 blockchain. And so like there's tons of layer 2 solutions being built on like massive layer 1 blockchains like Ethereum for the purpose of building out or the hopes of building out decentralized social media applications. But when you do that, it's saying it here, and you can do your own research on this, and we have, it's not really fixing the problem, building a layer 2 solution for on top of a general purpose blockchain. And you can do your own research about that, but that's a huge component to and a huge winning factor of DeSo. So question number 4, why do you need to store the content on chain? So why do you need to store like posts, profiles, likes, comments on decentralized social media platforms on the blockchain? So if you begin storing all social media content in a centralized location, like Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter have done with centralized applications, incentivizes apps/companies to hoard this data, sell it to the advertisers, and try to get users addicted. And this is all what we've seen over the development of Web 2.0 in the social media landscape since 2004 till now, is these massive giant companies in the centralized social media world are constantly just getting people more addicted, selling more data. And you can see this, like Facebook Meta now got into massive heat about the privacy of all their users and how they were selling way too much data to their advertisers, and they had to cut back about it. So question number 5, how exactly does DeSo solve the storage requirements of social media apps? So in software, there's a concept of database indexing, which is essentially the way in which you structure and store information in a database. If you set up a custom indexing that is built for a specific application type, example, social media, then you can store the content more efficiently and look up information much faster. Financial apps have different indexing needs than social media apps. This is why we would design DSO to solve for social media apps, while other blockchains are optimized for financial apps. So I actually talked with some coders and original developers on DSO about this specific point, because this is getting into some more complex details, and they would be able to talk about this better. And so actually like joining one of the platforms on DSO, like joining Diamond app and just sending out some questions and like just making a post and being like questioning about this, you get tons of great feedback. And so like a developer or a coder could go into much greater detail about like what actually separates DSO from other blockchains in terms of like making it effective specifically for decentralized social media. So question number 6, how do I use apps on DSO? So every person that joins the DSO network gets a DSO identity, similar to MetaMask on Ethereum. So if you've ever used MetaMask, it's like one of the main wallets for Ethereum, and basically it's really easy to use. You sign up on MetaMask, you get a seed phrase that is the seed phrase to your wallet. You never share that seed phrase. You usually write it down on paper if you're trying to be extra safe. And that MetaMask is basically giving you an identity on the Ethereum blockchain. It's things like if you're purchasing NFTs on OpenSea, you're able to make an identity like a profile on OpenSea that's directly attached to your MetaMask. Exact same concept with DSO. So when you sign up on any DSO application, you're given a DSO identity. This is an identity that goes across every single application. It's the same identity that goes across every single application that's built on top of DSO. So you can see what this looks like at scale. So for example, if there was a decentralized YouTube, if there was a decentralized Instagram and a decentralized Twitter, all built on DSO, you could be switching between each 3 of those platforms. So you could be switching to YouTube for the long form video. You could be switching to Instagram for everything that Instagram offers today. You could be switching to Twitter. But the difference is you would have the exact same followers and the exact same coin price and the exact same like post kind of across all of the platforms built on top of it. Huge key point here. And this is like what we see in potential with the scale with DSO. So question number 7, why are DSO apps better for users? So there are a number of reasons why DSO apps present a better experience for users. The first is that users actually own all of their data. With the click of a button, you can easily bring your profile, content, and funds over to a new DSO application. This is what I was talking about. In the future, if there's a YouTube and an Instagram, if you don't like what YouTube is doing and the decentralized YouTube is doing, then you can just take all of that, you can stop posting there, and you can go over to Instagram, and it has everything the same. It's just built out in a different way. And so basically what happens is, if you can conceptualize this, when you make a post on the decentralized YouTube in the future that's built off of DSO, you're making a video post. That same video post is going onto the DSO blockchain that could technically be distributed to all other applications that allow for those types of video posts. And so like that's a key thing. And so going more into why are DSO apps better for users, DSO is also censorship resistant ecosystem. If a single app chooses to ban someone, that person can easily go find a new app and take all their data with them. And lastly, we believe DSO apps will be healthier for users in the long run because DSO apps don't rely on ads. They aren't incentivized to addict their users or spread toxicity to keep them on the platform. This is true and kind of true because I believe in the future, like to get up to a scale that centralized applications are currently at, I think there is going to be some type of like addicting factors to make sure, because like that's why people use platforms like Instagram, YouTube on a daily basis, like crazy statistics out there that the average like Instagram users clicks onto the platform like so many times during the day. Just because most people are addicted to it. And so I do think that there is going to be some of this in the future when it hits scale. But again, there's some other key factors of decentralized social media that are amazing for the community and for the future. So question number 8, why are DeSo apps better for creators? So we just went over why they're better for users, but why are they better for creators? So historically, the creators that have made social media apps valuable have not been properly compensated for their work, with all the revenue flowing to the big tech monopolies instead. This couldn't be more true as a creator myself, and as us working with tons of creators. There's people on like Instagram, and I'm sure there's people listening to this podcast right now that literally have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers on these platforms and get paid very, very little and really nothing from the platforms themselves. Like unless you're on YouTube making ad revenue, but they're constantly cutting that back. And then Instagram released some like IGTV revenue, but it's like very minimal. And same with like Facebook is like, actually the Facebook revenue is actually pretty good, but nobody even like my age in terms of like millennials even use Facebook anymore. So it talks about, with DeSo, creators have many ways to monetize thanks to the underlying money native features of the DeSo blockchain. I touched on this point a little earlier about how DeSo is allowing for social media and money to be interconnected, and that being a massive opportunity for so many new users and so much more potential of utilization in the future. So one way is with their creator coins, in which users can invest in a creator/influencer, and a portion of those investments flow to the creator. So this is a really cool concept, and you really have to use some of the applications on DeSo right now for you to get a full understanding of this. You could use it for like 30 minutes and you would understand it if you go onto like diamondapp.com, create a DeSo identity, and then create a profile on Diamond App. And then you can just see like what it looks like to invest a creator coin, invest in your own creator coin, or invest in other people's creator coins with the DeSo coin. So another way creators are able to make money on DeSo is by selling NFTs, which creators can do with one click on apps like Diamond and Polygram, and earning perpetual royalties on resale. Royalties can also flow to creators' coin holders. So if you don't understand, Diamond is one of the applications built on top of DeSo. So is Polygram, and they list a couple others like on their blogs, because these are all applications that are built on top of DeSo. Again, there isn't too many developers working on these applications right now. It hasn't hit mainstream. So like if you go onto these applications, you're not going to see the massive traffic that you're used to on centralized applications like Twitter, Instagram. We're believing and hoping that's going to hit that in the future, just because of all the things that we've said. And if you're listening to this point in the podcast, you're probably like pretty hype. Yeah, we're 30 minutes in right now. We only have like a couple more things to go in this cheat sheet. But question number 9 on this cheat sheet is, what is the DeSo coin? So DeSo is the underlying native cryptocurrency for the DeSo blockchain, similar to BTC or Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain, or ETH, Ethereum on the Ethereum blockchain. DeSo is used directly by the underlying blockchain to incentivize participants in the network and pay the nodes that support the blockchain. Getting into some complex stuff if you aren't into crypto at all. If you understand crypto, then this is relatively easy, but you can understand what DeSo is. It's just the native currency of the DeSo blockchain. So it's used across all the applications that are built on top of DeSo right now. So this is an important difference from a token, which is a digital token that sits on top of a blockchain, but is not the native cryptocurrencies. They give some examples to this, but I don't need to go into that. And then if we go into question number 10, what is the DeSo distribution? This is also referred to as like the tokenomics of a coin. But basically, like, how was DeSo distributed to the first people who bought into DeSo? how is DSO given to the founders, and how what percentages are like owned by major investors in the platform. So this is a huge component because DSO got a lot of original traction, and it was previously named BitClout. If you've ever heard of BitClout, they transitioned the branding because everything they switched it up. Like they launched with BitClout. It was a mistake launch, but everybody has their hiccups. They launched it as BitClout, but everybody was seeing BitClout just as an application and no one to build on top of BitClout. And they switched it to DSO, which is decentralized social media. So people actually see it as a layer 1 blockchain that people build applications on top of, where BitClout is an application now on top of DSO. They said that they're going to close it in terms of closing BitClout just to put it to rest completely, but we haven't seen that yet, and people are still using BitClout. So on the website, it says DSO was distributed via bonding curve with over 44,000 purchases and no one entity owning more than 5% of the supply of DSO, other than founders who collectively own less than 20%. And that's really all it says for the DSO distribution. And this is actually like practically my one and only knock on DSO. And over the past year, like our entire team, myself, has purchased over $2 million of DSO. Past all the initial investors. We started like right in March 2021, and they did like their kind of like a private launch where like a lot of the big name investors came in before and prior to March 2021. Big names like Sequoia, Winklevoss, Coinbase came in and invested to it. That's why it's listed on Coinbase now, with it being the first major exchange. Chamath Dharmesh, who's the owner of HubSpot, some massive people came in, which gave the project a lot of validity, but it also comes at a cost. So my whole thinking of it is that I just believe in the concept of decentralized social media so much, and DSO is ahead of the DSO blockchain is ahead of any other project by miles, light years that I've seen. And so we just put like all of our eggs in terms of the decentralized social media aspect and realm of things into DSO, with the belief that the core team is going to do things to like redistribute some of the ownership to make it so that it's not like a centralized structure right now where a large portion of the ownership of all of the DSO circulation is with these massive Silicon Valley investors basically and the founding team. So that's our thoughts on it. You can do your own research, and I would implore you to do your own research if you're going to invest in DSO, because this isn't financial advice. I'm just laying out what we're invested in, why we are so hype on DSO, and why we're hype on decentralized social media for the future and at scale. So I could go into Web 3.0 and how it looks outside of industries of social media, but I'm going to leave it here because this is already a fairly lengthy podcast. And if you were into this podcast, you're probably going to rewatch it a couple of times to get a full understanding. So if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure to drop a like on whatever platform you're listening to, and leave a comment for any future topics you would like us to go over. If you would like us to touch on other aspects of DSO or the Web 3.0 world, make sure to comment below. And we have some really cool interviews with some massive people in the crypto space coming up on this podcast. So make sure to subscribe and turn on your post notifications. I'm Luke Lintz. This is the HighKey Crypto Podcast. This was a hell of an episode. Peace.